All right, you loyal listeners. Welcome to another episode of Agency Intelligence Podcast, giving you that real agency intelligence and not the artificial that they try to make you believe out there. Hey, I'm here with my boy Jackson. Yes. When I think of Jackson, I think of RPA. Now he's a lot more than that, but I mean, you got to be honest with you, Jackson. Like, you were one of the first cats out there doing this shit. Tell them who you are real quick before we get into this great conversation.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot, Jason. My name's Jackson Fregeau, co-founder and CEO of Quandri. And you're right. Like, we started, it's been about 4 years now that we started Quandri. And when we started, it was RPA for insurance agencies. That's what we were doing, right? It was bots to automate all of these different processes. But as technology has evolved pretty dramatically over the last 4 years, so has Quandri. We're doing a lot more than that, now.
Tell me what you're doing now.
So what the product is that agents use from Quandri is what we call a renewal intelligence platform. So really what we're trying to do is take all of the manual work away from the renewal process so that your staff can spend time talking to clients, selling insurance, making decisions, doing the things that you want to pay your licensed, highly trained staff to do. And we take away all the rest. So what that means in practice is we will ingest every policy coming into the business on renewal, analyze it, understand what the opportunities and the risks are. We will then go quote those policies automatically in different markets based on certain triggers. We'll then take that information, create personalized contextual communication that goes out to that end client with somebody in the loop on it. So effectively what we allow you to do is deliver a best-in-class renewal process to every single one of your clients without needing to throw teams and teams of people at that. And, the way we've been able to do that is sort of, when I think of what an agent does, right? An agent needs to do many different things, but you sort of do three big things. You analyze policies and understand what is on them and what needs to be on them. You quote policies, and then you communicate, right? You communicate back and forth with your clients. So those are the three big rocks. And then you do this in many, many different areas, right? You do this in new business, you do this in renewal, you do this in endorsements, you do this with midterm changes, you do those three things all over the place. So what Quandri has done is we've built those three capabilities using AI, the capability to deeply analyze and understand policies, the ability to quote policies, the ability to communicate that one-to-one with a client. Right now, we're pointing that at the renewal, but can break those capabilities out and start doing that in a bunch of different areas, which is really exciting. And that's it's the exciting part, I think, with AI is the flexibility and the scalability that it allows you to then do things, kind of take components and do them in a bunch of different areas.
This is pretty interesting because I have a hard time wrapping my head around how you could possibly be as good as my people at doing the renewals. I'm not saying you can't. Obviously, you're doing it, Jackson.
Sure.
Okay. I'm just being an agent here. And I'm thinking to myself, every client has something different going on. And so let's talk about this. So my client comes due on 1/1, and we're decided to do their renewal right now. Here it comes through the pipeline. There's a process that you have that you say to my producer or my CSR, whoever's handling it, hey, when the renewal comes through, do this, which means it's put it in this area and then blah, blah, blah. Tell me that.
Yeah. So basically what happens, you tell us what's important to you on renewal, right? So in our application, we look at about 120 or so different variables on a typical personal lines policy. So you're going to tell us what's important to you, right? So let's take home policy, an average home policy. You're going to tell us that, sewer backup coverage is important to you or it's not. You're going to tell us, the certain limits you want in sewer backup coverage. You're going to tell us that, you really want service line, you want liability limits in a certain place. You go in and across all of those variables, you say, this is the stuff that's really important to me, or I really want to prioritize, upselling these coverages, or I really want to prioritize monoline accounts, right? So you have the ability to personalize. So you make it, Jason Cass's agency's renewal process for what's important to you at that time. You can change that. Once you do that, that's then what tells our agents what they need to do when they're running through that process. So then based on that configuration that you set, we then go and we're going through every single policy. As we're analyzing those policies, we're seeing, monoline account here. That means we're going to go do this. Oh, we see that it's missing, sewer backup or flood coverage. That's important to Jason. So that means that's something that we're going to notify and we're going to flag and we're going to communicate to the client. So we will then analyze those policies. We run that through our intelligence engine. What our intelligence engine is basically an understanding of um, all of the underwriting guidelines, applicability of what coverages are relevant in what policy and what policy package and what region, et cetera. So that when we're making recommendations, they are actually what an agent would know to be true based on their deep experience with that carrier in that area. So you sort of understand the policies and understand what's there. We're then going to go and quote that if it hits a certain premium increase threshold. So let's say, Jason, in your business, you want to make sure that you're quoting and providing options to any client that hits a 20% premium increase. You've determined that that's what's important for you to maintain high retention. You're going to set that premium increase in our system. We're going to go quote those. We're going to bring that information back. We're going to take all of that information. We're going to put that into a highly contextual email that goes out to you and says, hey, Jason, we noticed your policy increased by X amount. We noticed you have these coverages. That's really good. We noticed you're missing these coverages. This is why that's important. Oh, yeah, by the way, you're at a 25% premium increase. Here are a few other options for you. And here's a recommended carrier where you could potentially save on your renewal. By the way, you've only got an auto with us. If you bundled with Cincinnati, the same carrier, we could save you 15% on your combined home and auto. So we're going to vary what that context is going to be depending on if it's a high premium increase, it's going to be more retention based. Low premium increase, it's going to be more upsell, cross-sell. But overwhelmingly, what you're trying to do is drive a very good client experience to every one of those clients in a proactive way. So when they get their renewal, they're not picking up the phone and going talking to another agent. They're not shopping it. You're getting to them within 24 hours of them getting that with a proactive value add service, showing them that you have done the work, which is really what every client is looking for. And then it allows your team to then spend their time actually picking up the phone and making phone calls and delivering that experience rather than getting you to that point. So we get you to the last mile basically, so you can do the thing
Gotcha.
that agents are good at.
So yeah, that was very clear. That obviously, if you're an agent and you're listening to this, that made 100% sense. So commercial lines versus personal lines. Am I correct? You kind of were really huge kind of on personal lines, maybe small business that kind of fits into that form. Am I right about that, Jackson?
So personal lines today,
Yeah.
small commercial tomorrow.
Okay, gotcha. And then that larger commercial, we're talking 30, 40, 50,000 in premium and above. That's still so manually done. Um, I wish the carriers would get their ass together and get the portals going so it wouldn't be so
Yeah,
manually
yeah, me
done. But
too.
in the meantime, we gotta still deal with that. So interested and that will be a challenge. But then again, maybe not so much. Maybe it's a challenge to agents because we all do it a different way. Personal lines has forced us to streamline it because it's like, this is how you do it. Maybe by the time that comes along, it's someone like your business that's like, no, guys, the reason why you can't bring and aggregate all that shit together is because you're treating every client different and doing it. Listen, if they're with Erie and they can be quoted in these three other companies, we should be going along the same lines of a personal lines renewal. Maybe I'm wrong or right about that. What do you think, Jackson?
Yeah, I think what you're going to see is you're going to see AI sort of move up the chain, right? So the reason we started with personal lines, a couple of things. A, great access to data, more standardized, but also
Um,
lower margin, right? Lower margin so that there is a high high intensity desire to actually automate a significant amount of that work, right? You as an agency owner, Jason, you probably don't want to go spend a ton of manual time and effort and margin on those personalized policies when there's not a ton of margin there. So you can use an AI system to automate a significant amount of that work, still drive incremental revenue through higher retention and cross sell upsell, and increase that margin. Where like you look at a large commercial policy, for example, a lot more
mm,
margin there for you to throw people at, right?
good
So
point.
like
Good
yes,
point. Good point.
you want to
That
automate
makes
that
sense.
work, right? Those producers, if they could do 50% more, they're going to make more money for themselves. They're going to make more money for you. but it's not quite as much of a burning desire as like the transactional kind of personal line small business, because you have a lot more margin to play with in that in that higher end, and like it's more relationship driven, right? Which is really critical. Like that's where you want to talk to a person, you want a back and forth. Where like personal line small business, in my mind, that's something that like a lot of that business I think can be run fully by AI over the next few years. Whereas in mid market and large commercial, if you're spending like if you're a business owner and you're spending you know 50, 100, $2 million on a policy, you want to throw it to grab. You want to sit across the table from somebody. You want to talk to them.
Makes
You want to
sense.
know who it is. You want to make sure you're protected. Like it's kind of varying levels. I think AI will be like an assistant there, but it won't go full cycle.
Yeah. And you could see how it will go get that information besides my producer sitting in front of them, right? Like finding information, sourcing the information,
Yeah.
analyzing the policy, and even analyzing the policy after the quote, right? So we go out and we get the quotes and then it comes back in. Right now, my CSR, he's got to go through and analyze and what's different and this is different. That's something that we're already using chat for, and
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. I'm one of those people that I just trust in the fact that they're not utilizing my information. I'm not going to allow that to stop me. I'm going to use it. But okay, that's
Yeah, and
interesting.
that's
That's
yeah, and that part's interesting, Jason. Like I should really be interested in digging in on that a little bit further, because like what I've found is that using like a foundation model. So let's say you're using this for like commercial comparisons. Using a foundation model like that, like it's going to get you 80% of the way there. I find this with like legal, for example, too, right? Like I run legal contracts through ChatGPT, but like I still get my lawyer to look at them, right? And my lawyer looks at
correct.
them and he comes up with something different than what I see coming through that. And the reason being is because you have this like deep expertise in that field, and ChatGPT like isn't quite an expert in any field. And like you take insurance as an example, like it can look at that policy and it can catch major differences. It will spit those things out. It can explain to you what a coverage is, but what it doesn't have is like understanding how Cincinnati's different packages or policy tiers and what coverages are baked in to a certain policy package and which are not, and which coverage they offer in Ohio versus New York
Wow.
versus California, right? And like that level of context and that level of nuance is critical for going from like 80 or 85 to like 95 to 99. And what I have found is that I think like a foundation model that's going to like 85%, that's really good if I'm just like using it as an assistant. And it's
Hell,
obviously very, very valuable. But like if you want to just deploy that into production, it's not even close to good enough to like build into like an automated process, because you need that last mile for your people to really trust it. Because if they don't trust it, they're not going to use it. They're not going to let that
it's true.
reach out to their client, for example. So I'm just
I
curious, like
also
that's been my experience. So I'm curious, like what you think about
Well,
that.
I'll give you my experience. I think you're trusting that agents do their job way more than they do.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah,
just
fair.
don't. They don't. Like I go get a West Bend, I got a West Bend renewal. I go get my Erie renewal, and I get my Cincinnati renewal. I mean, majority agents aren't working cross states. They're barely even looking at it. They're looking at the premium. They don't really even give a shit that maybe this one is 90% coinsurance and this one's 100%. You should. And I'm not saying so. All you agents listening right now, you're like, holy shit, what is Cass talking about? Cass is talking the
Mm,
truth. Okay, 80% of them don't really care. They're trying to undercut because they got a competitor over here. And that's where I think AI could be more and
yeah.
go in that last mile, right? Is
So
saying that.
imagine this, Jason, right? Like I just went through my auto renewal here, and imagine this: your renewal's coming up. 60 days before your renewal comes up, you get a text. In that text, it's hey Jason, your renewal's coming up in 60 days. Did a full analysis of your policy. Like here's a link if you want to see more. If you want to talk about this, or if you want to make any changes, here's a link. You can make it directly. Right? You click on that link, it opens it up, full analysis of your policy. If your premium's gone up, multiple different quote options, recommending a certain path, maybe recommending some additional coverages. You want to make any changes? Click a link, sign a DocuSign, tickety boo, done. Um, that is like, that's the type of renewal process that will exist in the next
Yes.
18 months,
Yes.
2 years, right? And
Yes.
you can deliver that to every single one of your clients. And if you have questions, text back, hey Jackson, why am I paying $150 for service line coverage? What does that mean? You get a text back right away.
Mhm.
You're not waiting 24 hours for somebody to answer back on email. You're not waiting to schedule a phone call to go back. This is like real time, work for, you know, 50, 60, 70% of your personal lines policies. Definitely not all of them. Like there's lots of complexity. There will be exceptions. Like you'll absolutely need people, but there's a lot of
Uh-huh.
vanilla business that's running through that isn't getting high quality client experience that agents want to do, but the economics just don't make sense. And that's what's going to happen in the next year or two. And when you do that, you drive higher retention rates, you cross sell and upsell more. Most people are underinsured and all they need is like real value to actually add more insurance on. So starts to drive pretty material margin expansion in those businesses.
So agents are listening to this. They're excited. They're going to Indie Tech, and lo and behold, Jackson, you're going to have people there that are going to be able to answer these questions. You're going to be able to do maybe even some demos of your product. We actually
You
have a
bet.
demo room. We have a demo room. Maybe you had somebody on our vendor call that we do. We have 18 spots to do demos to where you actually can open up and show us. It was people like yourself, because Jackson, you wanted to speak, and when you reached out to me, I didn't have any spots. So I'm like, how can I help these vendors who are there on their booths to say, hey, I want to do a thing. So if you're a speaker and you're going to show your product inside the classroom, they're not allowed to do the demos. It's basically for someone like yourself who's like, hey, I didn't get a chance, but I still want to show, because as agents, we want to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not only that, it's like, Jackson, tell me one of your agents that you have, and let me hear from them how this process is really working, right? Because Jackson's trying to help his investors and he's got a kid coming along and all that shit like that.
Got to pay the bills
I'm,
for the baby.
I'm being funny, loyal listeners, I'm being funny, but I'm being real, right? As agents, we're just try to be sold so much shit, and
Yeah.
especially in this AI world. Hey, let's take it a little bit further. We got your product. You're awesome. Jackson, you're high quality. Maybe it's because you're a Canadian. I don't know. A lot of good shit comes out of
Must be it.
Canada. It's like every time my Canadian friends, every time like some person is known they get an Emmy or something, my Canadian buddies will hit me and go, "Hey, he's Canadian, right?" And I'm like, I'm tired of this shit. But let's talk
We're
about.
proud of our Canadians being successful south of the border.
You are. There's not a whole lot of you,
Yeah.
I mean, hell, you all live within 100 miles of the border. Could we get some of those just to be born in America?
Yeah,
Anyways, no,
yeah.
you guys.
I heard a really funny description of that the other day, Jason. A horizontal Chile. I thought that was pretty accurate of Canada across the U.S. border.
Horizontal Chile. You know what? Most Americans listening to this don't even know. They think you're talking about Mexican food right now. All right, now here's the deal, Jackson. I want to talk to you about this. Let's talk about like a current event. Are we
Hmm.
in a bubble?
AI. Yeah, I
Yeah. Are we
think.
in a tech bubble? What do
Uh,
you think? You're living it.
I think. Yeah, I think AI is both a bubble as well as a generational technology that is going to drive massive amounts of value over the next 20 years. And both things can be true, right? Because like, and my world is more the venture world, but venture world flows from public markets, and the when you look beyond the compute that is being purchased and the chips that are being purchased, the actual tangible business value being delivered in the enterprise from actual end use case AI models does not equal the amount of value that is being created in like chips and compute purchasing. Like those lines do not equal each other. That is being driven by
Hmm.
model training largely by a lot of these companies, which is why they're buying chips and why they're buying compute on the expectation that the actual value delivered in the enterprise will catch up to that.
Making big
Um,
bets. They're making big
huge
bets.
huge bets, right? And public markets are driven so much by expectation and perception and not actual business value being delivered. But those two things need to line up eventually. They don't need to line up in the short term, But if those lines don't catch up, then you will see people pull out. You will see hedge funds get margin calls, etc. Um, I can't predict what's going to happen. I don't think anybody really can. But what I think is obvious is that those two lines don't match, and that I believe that AI will fulfill on all of the promises that
I
people
agree
people
too.
expect of it, but I don't think it's going to happen in 2 years, right? And I think that's the really important part. Like when you're actually in the weeds working with this technology and deploying it, like I was Jameson and I, so my co-founder and brother Jameson, we spent the weekend together and we were talking about this a lot. And what you realize, like when you're building a foundation model in a lab, right? It's sort of this pure AI. It doesn't need to actually interact like in the real world and get things 100% right. When you are deploying AI in insurance, and if we're going to reach out to an end client on your behalf, that has to be completely accurate, right? It's got to be bang
Uh-huh.
on, or you're not going to use it. You're not going to pay money for it. Your team's not going to rely on it. The effort to get from foundation model in a lab to 99% accurate to be able to use it in production is really, really, really hard. And then everything you need to put around the model to get it to work in a management system and get it to work with the CRM and get it to work with the workflows and the integrations, and to get like to do the change management in an agency, to get agents who've been doing something for 20 years to now do it a different way. Like none of that happens like that. Like even if the technology is ready, that stuff takes a decade, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if not longer. So the actual applications of deploying this technology, it takes time, right? And we're seeing it work and we're seeing it get deployed, but like it takes time to build the applications and actually get them working around that. And if that doesn't happen fast enough, then those perceptions of public markets aren't going to be true, which I think will probably happen. But I think over a
Uh-huh.
15-20 year period, look what happened in the internet, right? Huge expectations, bubble popped. The internet and software is now pervasive in literally everything we do. Everything I
Yeah.
do, except going for a walk in nature, although I probably use Google Maps to find the trailhead. Like
Very
it's just
true.
baked in to everything we do. And I think AI will be the same, but that time horizon is going to be, 10, 15, 20 years.
Well, if it's 10, 15 years, which I think it will be, then there's going to be a bubble. And I think for those two things to line up, Jackson, that's the bubble, right? It's you had all this bullshit, and Jackson, a lot of our people that are listening to this were like kids, okay? I mean, but I was in my early 20s, and I
I was
remembering
I
back.
was Go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead. Well, how old were you, Jackson?
Well, I
Go
was going
ahead.
to say I was about 5, so
That's what I'm saying. But I remember these things like Netscape and all these things that were just being thrown at us, and my Dell computer wasn't working correctly and all this shit. And what's amazing is after the bubble, those technologies that came out of that, those Googles, those Yahoos, those you could go on, those were the ones that really said, okay, and we started to believe in them. Right now, there's
mhm.
just not a lot of belief. And I believe it's got to take these bubbles. I've heard them called, I read a ton on AI, a shitload, and I've heard it called, they call them wrappers.
Mm.
These technology that are wrapped around an open AI. And just to say, if open AI goes out of business tomorrow, so does like 70% of the businesses, because they haven't built their own infrastructure, right? And I think that that's what we need. We need the bubble to come along, get those idiots out of the way. Yes, a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money, but even if AI went away tomorrow, Jackson, Quandri's still here because
Yep.
you've built the infrastructure. You've built what's needed. Now, it's going to change how your system kind of works, but it's not putting you out of business, And I think that a lot of companies today, they're out of business. I'll be honest with you. I'm just going to tell you something I've never really said out loud. I've been saying it to my business partners. I don't know if I'm going to continue to do indie tech
Mm.
because the people that are coming in, dude, they're VC. And when this baby pops, I don't want to be sitting there left holding the bag going, oh shit, I just signed $600,000 for this that I'm going to
Yeah.
bring in. And now I'm not bringing it in. And I mean, I was getting kind of scared this year because I'm thinking, shit, if this bubble pops, I got commitments to the hotel of $358,000. I got to sell 780 rooms at 350 a pop, or I get charged with those extra. You see what I mean? And so I'm kind of leery in this as well. And you said it right. the amount of value that they're expecting to get out of this is not equal to it. And I don't care what Sam Altman says. I think he's full of shit when he thinks that he's going to generate $1.4 trillion over the next 6, 7 years. And he's counting on, a lot of people don't know those calculations, Jackson. He's counting on the price of energy coming down, right? And then at the end of the day,
Significantly.
at the end of the day, who owns this whole thing? Nvidia. Dude,
Yeah.
they are the kingmaker here. Without them, and I know they're not going to go away. That's not what I'm saying. But everything relies on them. We don't realize we have all of our on one basket, and it's them. And I think that that's a dangerous situation. As we close up, Jackson, anything you want to add? Anything you want to add to this? I love this conversation with people like yourself who are in it.
Yeah, I thought this was awesome. Awesome too, Jason. No, the only thing I would add is that I think what you see, like, I think people just need to be very discerning about it, because it's not like the technology is fake and the technology is not real. What you
True.
have is just like short-term expectations, I think are much higher than what's actually being delivered. But like progress goes like this, right?
Mhm.
Progress goes like in a straight line, and maybe it comes like up and down a little bit, but like public market perception is going to go like this on top of it. And like you
Ooh,
need
well
to
said.
discern yourself out, like away from that kind of public market perception, and like figure out what is real and what is real for your business, and like where are the real applications of this actually being
Mm,
delivered, because it is very
mm,
real and the value being delivered is like very
mm.
substantial. But you have to cut through the noise. Like I was at AppliedNet a couple weeks ago. There were probably 30 AI for insurance companies, um, 27 of who all did the same thing. It's like we do
Yep.
AI for insurance, and that means we do policy compares, we do proposal creation, and we do quote compare, right? We just do
Yep.
AI for insurance. And like I think what you'll find is in 2 years there will be 3 or 4 companies for agencies,
Mhm.
all who
I
have
agree.
scale. So just be careful about be careful
I'm
about like the real value being delivered for you.
I inve come on, agents. I need you on your Spotify, on your Apple. You got to hit back 15 seconds, hit it 3 or 4 times. You need to listen to what Jackson just said there. So many agents are telling me, "Oh, I'm working with this company and we're building out this part of my system and all this." And I'm thinking to myself, guys, no. Here's the thing I want to say, Jackson. I'll close with this. I find that those who are trying to create AI to replace a person are the ones that will fail. Those who have created a tool to help agents and that they overlay it with AI, those are the ones that are going to succeed. Yes or no?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the tool is the sort of understanding of the data. It is the integration in the workflow, the integration to the management system. It's like everything around it that actually makes it
Mm-hmm.
work in production. So yeah, I agree.
And then MCP, we won't even go there. Anthropic just threw a whole different game into that, right? Because now we got in MCP, model context protocol for all you agents out there. Go out there and look at it. It's a totally different game. It allows things to be able to talk things different. So that then you got that, and then it makes you wonder, like that wasn't around 2 years ago or a year ago. What the hell else is right coming around? And it's an exciting time. It really truly is an exciting time. But agents, the best thing I can give you is you need to be working with somebody. I'm not paid by him. Quandri, okay, he did pay to come. Be paid to come to my event, but that's just part of the event part cost. I'm not paid by Jackson and his people, but you need to understand that these people have a foundation. Now, there's a couple other people, and I'd love to say their name, but I believe in the free world and they'll just have to get themselves out. They're not insurance specific. But how they sell agents is oh, well, we're the strongest out there because we've already built it out in these markets. Sure. When the bubble pops, they're going to pull out of the markets that they're least successful in, which is insurance, and they're going to jump back to their real estate or they're going to jump back to their health care where they decided to help and they thought they could come in here. So, agents, I'm warning you. I'm not trying to say because of Quandri, they've been around for 4 years, but they built an infrastructure before AI was AI, right? And I think that those are the kind of companies that you really have to start looking at. And if you're going to spend, I mean, I just was talking to this agent out of Indianapolis, bro. He's paying this company, and they sound like a girl is the name of the thing. He's paying them like $45,000 to kind of build out some of the routing and build out to where their claims, when it comes in, it's all done, and there's COIs. It's like three things. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh my God. And then I'm like, how much are they going to keep paying you per month? Dude's paying them over $2,000 to $3,000 a month. Jackson, this is like a 15-person agency. This
Yeah.
isn't no big
Yeah.
time agency out there. And I mean, I'm trying to talk to the guy, but I don't want to be like, "Oh, you're a hater." I'm like, "No, I'm not a hater. I'm an insurance agent, and I'm telling you, I'm reading more about you this shit, and you're making a mistake."
Mhm.
I know, God, I could go on about this. I just love agents, man, and I hate it when they get taken advantage on shit like this. Just drives me
Yeah,
crazy.
I think to one of the points you made, Jason, that I think is important to like give you, because I'll give you my perspective on it as a tech founder, because I think it's interesting, right? You hear tech companies talk a lot about product market fit, right? So what every tech company wants to find. You want to find
Mhm.
product market fit. Product market fit is basically when, it's when product starts coming up, falling off the shelves, right? People want to buy it. You're getting pulled more than you're pushing. Like Nirvana for technology companies is where you want to get
I
to.
can imagine it would be
Yeah.
Nirvana.
But
Yeah.
what it, what that actually means is that like typically when you start a technology company, you're not starting with this really defined product, right? You're starting with like these problems that you want to solve, and you go after these problems and you solve problems in multiple different places. We did that, right? When we started the company, we were doing things in a few different areas. We were figuring out, where is Quandri going to find product market fit? What product market fit has been for us, like our initial area has been this renewal intelligence platform, right? Agents really need help with renewals. And that's where we found product market fit. And that's where our whole product and all our investment and everything goes to. What that means though is that early on, we had kind of micro products in a few different areas, and we don't have those anymore, right? We've like offloaded those, and so we can focus all right here. All of these, 30 different AI companies right now, they're going to go through that same thing. They're going to go through that same cycle where they're going to do anything, and they're going to do everything here, 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 and here. And then they're going to focus in on an area where they have product market fit, and all that other stuff is going to fall by the wayside. So
Well said
that's
there,
like,
Jackson.
that's how tech companies operate early days. Most of them, not all. Some will come in with like a product that they stick with, but that's the piece when I said, you need to be aware of. That's just the part to be careful of, to make sure you're not putting too much into an area that could end up just getting sunsetted as that company is kind of pivoting around to find what they're really gonna do when they grow up.
Loyal listeners, don't wonder why I do what I do, because I do it for you. I mean, listen to this information here. I try to keep these between 20 to 25 minutes long, and we're at 33. You know why? Because Jackson's talking the proof here. Okay. He's talking. I'm telling you, he's Canadian. He's nice. He's trying to do what's best for us. And once again, I'm going to stick it out. He's not paying me. I just want him to do what he is doing that's good, right? And he's just out there teaching us. Jackson, thank you very much for coming along, brother. I really do
Yeah, thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having me, Jason. Always awesome talking to you, man. Thanks for having me.
It truly is. And, loyal listeners, I do what I do because I do it for you. Tell me your thoughts and tell me your ideas, and I'm going to tell the world what you have to say. This has been Cass. He's Jackson. We're out.